I'm talking about the Echoplex for trolls over here, guys.
So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Bistro fraternity guy, you got my ass full of bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to decide to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So cool, was so impressed. Lots of chicks in a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planets. Well, I just can't understand it. Conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, sure talk. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, sure talk. Read into the lyrics, cause everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finished Mr. White Beater, you're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with a penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. She's in a pool of blood and cry. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you with my cash ready to go. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bone's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The fundamental put a pie, but it's not turn and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics, so let the bloody spill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Plex. We do this show live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You can support this project. Go to echoplexmedia.com, click the support link at the top of the website, and you can find your favorite way to support. I don't know, buy some merch or something. And people watching live on Twitch, you know how Twitch's monetization works. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr while Grindr is still legal, and this is what the people want.
I don't hate the cops. And there's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rocks. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Thank your local police. Cause they don't do nothing wrong. Thank your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fairest judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. Because they don't do nothing wrong. Don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job. Don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder, how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks? Don't hate the cops. 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 Don't hate the cops.
Sometimes I get a story from the Discord generally, and I don't know where to put it. And it's like on the docket, like in where it should go in the order of things. So I just put it first. And that's the story this week.
Lawmakers are asking why we are feeding our kids foods that can be harmful to their health in our schools. State Representative Leo Biasucci is sponsoring a bill that would prohibit schools from serving foods that contain ingredients like potassium bromate and yellow and red dyes, just to name a few. Supporters of the bill say these ingredients are scientifically proven to contribute to health issues and obesity. Among the supporters for the bill are former race car driver Danica Patrick and actor-comedian Rob Schneider.
If you eat this crap
Calling him an actor and a comedian is a lie.
as a child, I should be 6'5" at least. Look at me, I'm a balding midget. My pants are too tight. I'm angry all the time because I ate this crap. As a nation,
What?
we don't really do the most basic thing we need to do is give them an opportunity to grow up and have a shot at this, where their brains and their bodies can grow without being this starting off running with 1 foot in the sand.
Now, these are ingredients that you're looking at here that are banned in Europe, but not in the U.S.
So some of the time that's not true. Some of the time when they say, oh, these ingredients are banned in other countries, no, friend, they're just called something else in the other countries.
Say they'd like schools to try purchasing more locally grown foods as well.
So that's dumb. Like I said, I had no idea like where in my list of stories that should be. So it was there. Now we're going to move on. I don't know what to say about that. Douche Bigelow and Danica Patrick. We've covered her a little bit on the Intellectual Dollar Tree, and it kind of sucks. Like what her trajectory. She's like a badass. And now she like interviews a bunch of cookers. Not great. Not great. I don't know if any of you have been here for her show, but it's not great. So, in case you didn't notice, we've been off this for 2 weeks here. So there's kind of 2 weeks worth of news, though it'll be a little heavier on this past week's news. In case you didn't know, Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu had some kind of a press conference about Gaza, and it wasn't great. It wasn't great. It was bad. I would say it was bad. And right now I'm killing time waiting for this lovely website to fucking load the video. Here we go.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job. Do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
The people of the area can't go back. Oh, what a fucking disaster, dude. What a fucking disaster. There's more. I mean, there's like a lot of clips from this. This isn't good. The news, even the news reporters who are usually kind of hesitant to fucking criticize anything kind of having anything to do with Israel. Even the news reporters are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister. You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there, redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel and to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians as well?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent.
Something is going to create, we're going to be creating thousands of jobs with something that'll be magnificent. Like, dude, like this is like mind expandingly stupid. I mean, we've seen some shit, but this is crazy. So now we got another question from the press. Obviously, this is probably along the same lines.
On what you were saying about the Gazans leaving Gaza, going to other countries. One, where exactly are you suggesting that they should go? And two, are you saying they should return after it's rebuilt? And if not, who do you envision living there?
I envision world people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. And I think the entire world, representatives from all over the world will be there, and they'll live there. Palestinians also. Palestinians will live there. Many people will live there. But they've tried the other, and they've tried it for decades and decades and decades. It's not going to work. It didn't work. It will never work.
So let's just turn it into a sandals. My fucking God. Oh, there's more. Because of course there's more. Here's, I believe, Peter Doocy, not the dumbest Doocy, but it's Peter Doocy from, I believe, Fox News. Not Steve Doocy. Steve Doocy is really dumb, but I believe Peter Doocy asking Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu a question.
Peter?
Would Palestinians have the right to return to Gaza if they left while the rebuilding was happening?
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth. And right now, I've seen every picture from every angle, better than if I were there. And nobody can live there. You can't live there.
And it's because the guy next to you fucking blew it up. What the fuck? Yeah, the guy next to you fucking blew it up. Holy shit, man.
Massive amounts of money supplied by other people, very rich nations, and they're willing to supply it. If we can build something for them and one of the countries, and it could be Jordan, it could be Egypt, it could be other countries, and you could build 4 or 5 or 6 areas. It doesn't have to be one area, but you take certain areas and you build really good quality housing, like a beautiful town, like someplace where they can live and not die, because
friend, that's what they wanted that, but they wanted to build it themselves without.
Going to end up dying. The same thing's going to happen again. It's happened over and over again, and it's going to happen again as sure as you're standing there, Peter. So I hope that we could do something where they wouldn't want to go back. Who would want to go back? They've experienced nothing but death and destruction.
But at the hands of the guy sitting next to you. Yo, yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu is giddy, not because he thinks the United States is going to take that part over. I think he's fucking rolling Donald Trump right here. He wants help with the get the people out part. He's not going to let Donald Trump fucking put fucking Mar-a-Lago and shit there. He's not going to know. Trump's an idiot. So this is great for Benjamin Netanyahu, because Benjamin Netanyahu a monster, but he ain't a dumb fuck. So he's fucking absolutely playing the United States president right now. Trump is getting played. Here's Fox News' response to all of this. Oh, wait, what? Okay, yeah, here's Fox News' response to all of this.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
The definition of insanity is attempting to do the same thing over and over and over again. And as the President and Prime Minister pointed out last night,
as our defense secretary said famously today, Pete Hegseth, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
President Trump is an outside-of-the-box thinker and a visionary leader who solves problems that many others, especially in this city, claim are unsolvable.
The President is willing to think outside the box.
We might as well look at one of the world's longest problems and bring in a leader who thinks outside the box, who's crazy may just be crazy genius.
Oh my God. Okay, I see people in the chat. Yeah, that's not the definition of insanity. People that are not insane do the same thing over and over and again, expecting different results. It's that if at first you don't succeed, try again. I guess that's crazy town. Up next, I think, like, as far as all this goes, I think the Democrats are going to grandstand on it and then just not do anything. They're going to grandstand on it, talk about how bad it is. It's either going to be Gaza or Elon Musk having all this access. They're going to grandstand. Oh, they're going to fucking they're going to act like it stinks somewhere and it's somebody else's fault and that somebody else better clean the place up. But they're not going to do anything. They're going to just sit there and go, why aren't you playing by the rules? And that's all they're going to do because of the fucking Democratic Party.
Elon Musk and his aides have gotten access to critical government computer systems, including the one at the Treasury Department that writes the checks appropriated by Congress for the U.S., checks to federal government employees, checks for Social Security recipients, et cetera. Do you have an issue with that?
Of course I do. First of all, every American needs to know that your information, your personal tax records have been potentially compromised, that unelected billionaires and his Silicon Valley right-wing friends may have access to all of your personal information.
I think they kind of already did.
Seems to be in service of taking control of the federal government and using the resources of the federal government to reward Trump's friends and Musk's friends and to punish their enemies, at least to punish people who don't line up with the political priorities of the administration. They say they're just, sorting through all of government spending to make sure that it doesn't contain funding for woke ideologies. That is just fancy talk to say we're going to give money money to people who pledge loyalty to Donald Trump, and we're not going to give money to people who don't pledge loyalty to Donald Trump. Today it may be government contracts, but tomorrow it may be your tax refund. So I just think this is a super dangerous moment that doesn't just impact government contractors, that now may impact ordinary Americans. And I think you're seeing this weekend and today folks realizing the scope of this crisis, and you're starting to see the American public really speak out and speak up.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to see this speak out. And these people, they don't get it. Like, they don't, it's so like impotent. Oh, people are going to be talking about it. Okay. Well, then what? We going to do anything about it? Well, not if fucking these people have anything to say about it. Right. If this stops, it stops because the people used force to stop it. We're already past the fucking event horizon here, but that's uncivil. It's uncivil, and this kind of talk is uncivil and unhelpful. And how dare you not believe in the strength of our democracy? I don't believe in the strength of our democracy. These people are just going to next thing they're going to the courts. Oh, the courts are going to stop them. Well, the court's going to tell them to stop doing this, that, or the other thing, and they're just going to keep fucking doing it. Then what? Anyway, here's Jake Tapper. I'm going to impotently rant about this Dodge thing.
Whether you voted for President Donald Trump or not, you probably expected to see some disruption to the normal way the government does things. Tariffs, aggressive deportations, efforts to shrink the federal government. The question in that last part, efforts to shrink the government, is how? How is the Trump administration working toward accomplishing that goal? Two weeks into his second term, the answer is with very broad strokes and blunt instruments. For instance, most federal employees received a letter pushing them to resign now and be paid through September, or risk the elimination of their positions in the future. And maybe some of you are thinking, good, the government needs to shrink, and maybe you think that these employees are bureaucratic dweebs here in D.C. enforcing crazy regulations or whatever. Except, I heard from one of those federal employees earlier today. She's a friend of mine. She's a psychologist for the Department of Veterans Affairs at a VA, not here in D.C., all the way out there in the heartland. What's her job? In my view, her job is making sure that veterans with post-traumatic stress don't kill themselves. That's how I would describe her job. And she says she's gotten this fork in the road letter from the Trump administration 4 times in the last 2 weeks, including this afternoon. And she is worried, what if 5% of people like her, Veterans Affairs psychologists, leave, don't feel security in their job? And how many veterans psychologists can we afford to lose? Afford as in veterans' lives, not whatever balance sheet the folks at DOGE have. What about the air traffic controllers or the National Transportation Safety Board investigating the 2 deadly plane crashes last week? There was confusion about that yesterday. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy told me this.
For our department, actually, the critical positions in regard to safety are not offered that early retirement. We're going to keep all our safety positions in place, no early retirement. We're all going to stay and work and make sure our skies are safe.
Some government positions are important. This is all of a piece with last week's memo from the White House Office of Management and Budget detailing a sweeping freeze on trillions of dollars in federal grants. White House officials first said the memo was clear as day, but then they quickly rescinded the memo the next day because it was clear as mud. They presented a complicated topic with little apparent thought or nuance. Many congressional Republicans didn't know, couldn't answer how the freeze would impact federally funded agencies that help the most vulnerable Americans, keeping their lights on or giving them nourishment. Now, the funding freeze is still alive, but it's now paused while parts of it are tied up in federal court. Trump wants to effectively shrink the size of government and make policy changes. Fine. But how? Where? We're not getting any transparency, and there isn't any apparent accountability. We don't know exactly what Elon Musk, the world's richest man, is doing as he heads DOGE, the new Department of Government Efficiency task.
We do. He's looking through that to find ways to punish his enemies and to lift up the voices of people he likes. That's the same reason he bought Twitter.
Slimming down the size of government. And God bless, slim down the government. But one thing we do know is that Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has granted Elon and co. full access to the government's payment system. That's the system that pays out your Social Security benefits, your tax refunds, and payments to federal workers and contractors, adding up to more than $5 trillion a year. Why is he being given this access? Why? According to people familiar with the department, Trump-affiliated employees had asked about Treasury's ability to stop payments. But one person says that's not their role. Their role is just to, quote, make the effing payments. President Trump was asked about this today.
Mr. President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him. And it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs. And we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers.
With certain groups and certain numbers.
Which ones? VA psychologists? NIH cancer researchers? Who? Surely parts of the federal government could be whittled down, but what we've seen so far is an axe being brandished and swung recklessly. And I have to say, this really reminds me of 2 weeks ago, how the president approached the January 6 pardons. Trump's team had originally told the public, including here on CNN, inaugural morning, that President Trump was going to engage in a process to make sure there was some care involved in who got pardons.
We've made very clear in the past that President unfairly. So they're going to look on a case-by-case basis.
I mean, in no way, shape, or form, anyone who's been violent towards law enforcement and things of that nature is going to get a pardon. That's what he said. But according to Mark Caputo from Axios, President Trump ended up saying, F it, and he gave clemency to all 1,500 or so of them. Now, if the Trump team had taken any care...
This is your fault. You have a fucking known liar on your show, and you're like, oh, it's going to be okay. Yeah, the dude's a fucking liar. That's Jason Miller. You had Jason Miller on your show. He went on there to lie to you. You said, oh, come on my show and lie to me. He was like, all right.
He might have seen that among those he was pardoning, he was showing compassion and clemency to, were, per a fascinating piece by Tom Dreisbach at National Public Radio, Peter Schwartz, sentenced to 14 years in prison for 4 separate assaults on police officers on January 6th. Prosecutors noted his, quote, jaw-dropping criminal history of 38 prior convictions going back to 1991, including throwing a lit cigarette at a victim and striking her near her eyes. Also terrorist threats against police in 2019, assaulting his wife in 2020, quote, including by biting her on the forehead and punching her multiple times. Hope he's enjoying his pardon. Then there's Theodore Middendorf, who had yet to be sentenced in his January 6 case, but last May pleaded guilty, according to prosecutors, to committing an act of sexual penetration against a 7-year-old.
What the fuck?
For that charge, hope he's enjoying his pardon from President.
I didn't know about that.
Lest we forget David Daniel, who last fall was charged with production and possession of child pornography of a prepubescent minor and a child under 12 years old, quote, sexual acts with 2 young girls in his own family.
I bet that motherfucker was running around during QAnon yelling save the children, too.
Say. To be clear, Trump's clemency does not apply to any charges other than those relating to January 6th. Their other criminal cases are ongoing. NPR reports that Middendorf and Daniel are still behind bars. And I doubt President Trump wanted to show clemency to people accused of being pedophiles. But he did.
Well, why do you doubt that? Like, what? All he cares about is loyalty. Why do you, as the person doing the news, why do you need to fucking run a little bit of interference for the guy?
He called the whole group hostages and patriots. And there's a reason why governing effectively, as with a pardon process, can take some time. There's a reason why there is a process and there are standards, even for effective disruption, effective shrinking of government, effective pardoning. It takes work, not just hand grenades.
All right, well, thanks. I like the part especially where it's like, he didn't mean it. Like at the end, he was like, he didn't mean to do that. Well, what the fuck? I don't care what you think if he meant to do it. That's what he did. God, the fucking news, dude, the fucking mainstream or the legacy news is just doing such a bad job with all this. They're like, I think they're just waiting for some like mythical fucking moment, some magic moment to come along where the fucking fever breaks. And it's not. This isn't going to stop. This isn't going to stop unless people in positions of power exercise their power to stop it. And short of that, this isn't going to stop until people with no power put their bodies up against the machine. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that at all. That's going to be a fucking bloodbath. I do not want to see that. But so long as like the best we got essentially is Jake Tapper whining and then saying, well, he didn't mean to do it. Well, he brings up about a scenario where, well, him and people like him are bringing about the scenario where people are going to have to put their bodies up against the machine if this is going to stop. So congratulations, Jake Tapper, you mic drop. Up next, we got somebody. This is a pretty good question asked by the CNN host to Representative Brandon Gill. Would it be okay if George Soros came in and did what Elon Musk is doing?
I just want to go back, though. Would you be okay? Because it is unprecedented what Elon Musk is doing. I know you say it's not a surprise, but it is. I mean, we have not seen the world's richest man come in and go agency to agency with his staffers, they're all unelected and have access to these sensitive programs. Would you be okay if Democrats did this? If a George Soros came in with his staffers and did the same thing that Elon Musk is doing? Would you accept that?
Well, what's unprecedented is spending our taxpayer dollars on left-wing partisan political projects all over the globe. That's what the American...
Feeding the poor. It's left-wing now. The fucking foreign aid, they always try to paint it this way, right? That it's some left-wing endeavor to like help poor people in other countries. But it's a part of our empire. It's soft power. They know it too. It's you can't go around bombing everybody all the time, but if you want to have leverage against other countries, foreign aid is a good way to do it too. It ain't great, but at least when people get some food, I guess.
American people are focused on. This is a result of this election. This is a result of President Trump getting a very clear mandate from the American people to get rid of this kind of nonsense from our federal government, and we're doing it more efficiently than it's ever been done before. And again, the fury that we're seeing from the other side of the aisle isn't about this waste. It's not about paying for left-wing activism on the other side of the globe. It's that it's being exposed finally. And that's what the American people want.
Certainly want more transparency about everything, right?
Oh, I want to see more of that, but I fucking... Where the fuck is the person that just simply says, that wasn't the question? I'm going to ask the question again. We don't know. It got cut off, but I'd bet a month Twitch revenue that's what didn't happen. So here's Chuck Schumer. At least we got something funny. Did you know that everyone's aroused? We're just everyone fucking aroused.
These different organizations and people in New York reaching out to you, and you've encouraged them to obviously keep up this effort and to possibly contact the president in any way, shape, or form. But do you realistically think that the president is going to listen to many of these people enough to keep New York struggling?
The roots of democracy are deep. And what we're saying is go to your local official, your local congressman, or your local senator, and have them get to the president. But the roots of democracy are deep. People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time in terms of trying to get this done. So, yes, I think democracy will have an effect, and we are going to keep at it. We're going to keep at it legally. We're going to keep at it legislatively, but we're also going to keep at it in terms of the grassroots. Thank you, everybody.
We're going to keep everybody aroused. I know I'm hard right now. I don't know about you. I'm sorry. This is a little childish, but whatever. So Here is Senator Michael Bennet versus RFK Jr., who did, in fact, get confirmed. It's not great.
That COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets black and white people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people.
I didn't say it was deliberately targeted. I just quoted an NIH-funded and NIH published study.
Did you say that it targets black and white people but spared Ashkenazi Jews?
I quoted a study, Your Honor. I quoted an NIH study.
Your Honor? Did you just call him Your Honor? Are you supposed to call the senator Your Honor?
I quoted a study, Your Honor. I quoted an NIH.
Your Honor, I don't think that. No, I think he's pretending that he's pretending to be a lawyer right now.
Study that showed that
I'll take that as a yes. I have to move on, Mr. I have to move on. Did you say that Lyme disease is highly likely a materially engineered bioweapon? I made sure I put in the highly likely. Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that?
And that's what the developer of Lyme
I want all of
disease
our
said.
colleagues to hear it, Mr. Kennedy. I want them to hear it. You said
we don't give a fuck.
Did you say that exposure to pesticides causes children to become transgender?
No, I never said that.
Okay, I have the record that I'll give to the chairman, and he can make his judgment about what you said. Did you write in your book, and it's undeniable, that African AIDS is an entirely different disease from Western AIDS? Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm not sure if I made that.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It's you. The he just knows he's getting confirmed. It doesn't matter. Did you write this in your book? Well, the odds that the person's just taking something that wasn't in your book and putting the words in your mouth, pretty slim. Pretty slim, being as it's your book.
I'll give it to the chairman, Mr. Kennedy. And my final question, did you say on a podcast, and I quote, "I wouldn't leave abortion to the states. My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have the government involved, even if it's full term." Did you say that, Mr. Kennedy?
Senator, I believe that every abortion is a tragedy.
Did you say it, Mr. Kennedy? This matters. It doesn't matter what you come here and say that isn't true, that's not reflective of what you really believe, that you haven't said over decade after decade after decade, because unlike other jobs we're confirming around this place, this is a job where it is life and death for the kids that I used to work for in the Denver public schools and for families all over this country that are suffering from living in the richest country of the world that can't deliver basic health care and basic mental health care to them. It's too important for the games that you're playing, Mr. Kennedy. And I hope my colleagues will say to the president, I have no influence over him. I hope my colleagues will say to the president, out of 330 million Americans, we can do better than this.
Thank you. We need to move on. Senator Cassidy.
That's good, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, this guy's a fucking hypocrite, and he fucking is, but it doesn't matter because he's part of the club. He's part of the club. Up next, this is a longer clip, but this is Senator Bill Cassidy was actually the deciding vote to advance RFK's nomination, and he it didn't seem like he wanted to vote yes, but then he voted yes because he was up for re-election. Which is great. I guess when keeping your job is more important than doing your job.
In accomplishing this. If confirmed, I look forward to working together with Mr. Kennedy to achieve President Trump's mission of improving the health of all Americans. And with that, I yield.
And you have just been watching a really important speech on the floor of the United States Senate. That was Senator Bill Cassidy, Dr. Bill Cassidy, explaining why he, just a few hours ago, was the deciding vote in order to get Robert F. Kennedy over the line in the key committee that he voted on to be the next Secretary of Health and Human Services. As I mentioned, he's a medical doctor. He was very concerned, openly concerned, including...
No, he was, I mean, if he was that concerned, like, one of these days, you're going to have to some of these people are going to have to put on their big boy pants and do some shit that's uncomfortable if they want to especially if they, like, believe in some kind of fucking afterlife or some shit where you're judged in the afterlife. My fucking Lord. Well, this guy is just a coward.
The confirmation hearings that he attended and that he questioned Mr. Kennedy during about Kennedy's anti-vaccine rhetoric and history just to sort of summarize some of what Senator Kennedy just said, peddling in some conspiracy theories from...
See, like the news, they're like, oh, he seems to peddle in some conspiracy. Lady, he's a cooker. He's a fucking... It's not conspiracism. It is weaponized disinformation propaganda that he's doing. It is not just like, oh, I don't know if we landed on the moon.
Cassidy's point of view. Now, just to recap, what happened this morning is that the Senate Finance Committee voted to advance Kennedy's nomination. He won by just one vote, which is why Senator Cassidy, Dr. Cassidy, was so critical. I want to go to CNN's Manu Raju, who was outside that hearing, has been working his sources on this. We're going to talk about some of the sort of the medical points that he made, which are all very, very interesting. But what I want to ask you about were the promises that we all just heard Senator Cassidy say that he got from RFK Jr.
Oh, no.
About touching base with Congress, not replacing people in these key government agencies without checking with Cassidy and others first.
So he got rolled. He got rolled. RFK Jr. and others were like, we're going to make sure you don't get reelected. And so he's like, oh, I have assurances from them that they'll check in with me. But they already own you.
Among many other promises. It's definitely not the same kind of check and balance that we have seen even remotely in the past 2 weeks. So maybe we should be skeptical, but it is certainly someone like you and me and all of us to make sure to bookmark everything that Senator Cassidy just said.
Yeah, and it's very noteworthy. I mean, also saying that the CDC would not remove anything from its website suggesting that vaccines are not linked to autism, childhood autism. That, of course, had been a flash.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter now because he got the fucking yes vote. He's just going to do whatever he wants. These people are fucking stupid. Now I think fucking Senator Cassidy and fucking RFK Jr. is just rolling the news. I mean, Cassidy got rolled, sure, but now he's fucking rolling the news. He's like, oh, well, I'm just going to tell him this bullshit. I'll believe it, whatever. They'll just report it because I said it, because what the fuck else is the news going to do other than just report whatever I tell them?
What the science says, that vaccines are not linked to childhood autism. And that's what caused Cassidy to consider voting against this nomination. And that's what led to all these conversations that happened.
Just that?
Behind the scenes, and that one assurance saying that the CDC would not remove any language to throw into question the safety of vaccines was one reason why Cassidy felt comfortable enough to vote to advance this nomination. And also, he's suggesting that they would have frequent communication throughout his tenure, assuming that RFK Jr. does get confirmed for this post. But there you heard a senator who was very much struggling with this nomination. He had extensive conversations.
Oh, he's no. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
RFK Jr., but also people in the White House, the vice president himself, also a part of this, but also the pressure campaign. Cassidy facing enormous pressure on both sides of the aisle, something he acknowledged right off the top, people wanting him, seeing him as the decisive vote. If he had voted no in the committee, that would be it. RFK Jr. nomination would be done. But now it's got a serious chance of being confirmed by his critical vote to advance this to the Senate floor. So what happens next? We expect expect a vote, Dana, early next week. The Senate Majority Leader John Thune plans to bring this up early next week. That means he needs to keep Republicans in line. We expect all Democrats to vote against RFK Jr., meaning he can only lose 3 Republican votes at most on the Senate floor. What will Lisa Murkowski do? What will Susan Collins do? 2 perennial swing.
The same thing they always do. They'll go do the rounds on fucking MSNBC and CNN, act like they're going to fucking do something other than what they're going to do. And then they're just going to fucking fall in line because that's what they do, because they're fucking Republicans. They fall in line with the Republican Party.
Votes. What will Mitch McConnell do? A childhood survivor of polio, someone who supports vaccines as well.
Mitch McConnell is going to fall in line.
Who could vote against him? Right now, it doesn't seem that way, but still several Republicans keeping their cards close to their vest as we head into this critical vote next week, Dana.
And we cannot overstate how much what we just heard from Senator Cassidy will give those 3 Republicans, if they are looking for it, political cover to vote for RFK Jr. because they can say, I mean, you can see the statements being written now. I had my doubts, but Dr. Cassidy.
I had my doubts, but one fucking medical doctor changed my mind. Get that? This is fucking. These people all have podcast brain. When you like podcast brain is like, oh well, it seems like everybody believes this thing, but actually, one person who I think is really smart said the other thing. So it must be this person that I think is really smart said the other thing. They must be the one who's right because I think they're really smart. In this case, it's like this person is a lawmaker like me, and they said it this way. So they're in my tribe. They're in my club. So they must know something the others don't know.
Going to be kind of in charge of this and make sure that things don't go awry. And so, therefore, I support him. You can see that happening. Okay, Manu, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Here at the table are some incredible reporters to continue to talk about this. CNN's Jeff Zeleny, Jasmine Wright of Notice, and CNN's Priscilla Alvarez. Let's talk about some of what Senator Cassidy said, because it's so important and so critical.
It's called cowardice.
Not the least of which is you have a well-respected doctor, a Republican who's certainly gone sideways with MAGA world, like, I don't know, he voted for I think it was the second Trump impeachment because of January 6th. But still, when it comes to his credentials as a doctor, I would say they're unimpeachable when you look at the Republicans.
I'm sorry, his credentials as a doctor, I'm sure he made mistakes at work as a doctor. Everybody makes mistakes at work. What do you mean credentials are unimpeachable? Do you mean that he was a medical doctor before he was a politician? What does that mean, that his credentials as a doctor are unimpeachable? Sure, I can't say that he wasn't a medical doctor or that he was a bad medical doctor, but I don't know what the fuck this means.
What he said was the vaccines do not cause autism. He said that without hesitation, without qualification.
But I'm going to vote for the guy who says they do, because otherwise I might have a tough re-election coming up. And then I might have to, oh my God, go back to being a doctor. Like, what the fuck? Okay, so you lose your next election and then you just go practice medicine. I don't see what the fuck. That's fucking, am I crazy? There's no problem here.
That is based on several studies that he has seen. He says the science is good and that it is safe. And that is what led him to get.
Wait, he says that's the scientific consensus. This dude is like, what do you mean he looked at a couple studies? What are you talking about?
From RFK Jr. that he would, as Manu said, not take that statement off of the CDC website and other measures to make sure that the oversight of RFK Jr. and HHS is real. So now the onus is on Senator Cassidy.
It is, and it would be extraordinary to see him not voting yes in the full Senate. So by this point, this decision almost certainly means that that RFK Jr. will be confirmed. It might take the vote of Vice President Vance, as it did Hegseth. But I'm so struck by the parallels with the Defense Secretary, because you had a subject matter specialist, Joni Ernst, the senator from Iowa, who was a combat veteran, who had deep, deep concerns about Pete Hegseth's nomination. She had a lot of pressure from the outside. She got around to voting yes. Dr. Cassidy, Senator
Right,
Cassidy,
because she's a Republican.
He's a subject matter expert. He got around to voting yes.
That's because he's a Republican, and they. What the fuck do? I know it's like an overused metaphor, but it's like fucking every time Lucy puts the ball out for Charlie Brown, she takes the ball away. Like, these people don't even understand Charlie Brown.
The reality here is, it is virtually impossible, politically speaking, to withstand the opposition, particularly if you're up.
Right, but that's you're fucking supposed to. Didn't this motherfucker probably ran on I am an independent voice in the Republican Party, and I will use my medical experience and fucking critical thinking or some shit like that is probably like what his fucking campaign was like, right? I'm going to stand up to my own party when I have to, blah, blah, fucking blah. I guarantee you that was this guy's fucking message.
For a re-election, but even if so I think the question going forward is, how collaborative is Secretary Kennedy, should he become confirmed? How collaborative will he be with the Senate? Or are there going to be some fights between the legislative branch and the executive branch, which we are already seeing every hour of every day here? But he clearly got to.
So, like, political fights between different branches of the government is fine. That's why we have 3 branches of government. No, there's the problem here isn't the political fight. That's what they're for. Literally, they're all supposed to be checks. They're supposed to be checks and balances against each other. So the fact that there's tension and conflict there's no fucking problem there. That's the system working correctly, sort of.
Republicans,
yes, on this. Not from Republicans.
And they're the ones who run the place. So
yeah, for exactly. I mean, a few of them have raised small concerns, but not really. But I was, I'm in the Oval Office yesterday asking questions of the president. What are you doing to help get the nominees overboard? He said he was making calls, and we know that the vice president specifically has been involved in this. This has been one of his assignments, talking to Senator Cassidy, trying to urge him to go along with this. So he did, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so that's one side of the sort of the ledger, the pro and con ledger that he clearly was looking at. The other that I don't want to lose sight of, because it is really important for us to underscore this to our viewers, is the fact that Senator Cassidy said that there is a lot of mistrust of the healthcare, the government agencies that are in charge of healthcare, the healthcare industry. Obviously, we've heard much more.
But you're not going to say the insurance companies.
More about the food industry, and he clearly.
But all this fucking this style of distrust, right, is what's important, right? It's conspiracy theory. It's like fucking cooker ass distrust of this stuff, and it's all been sown by people like RFK Jr. on all the fucking podcasts and shit that he goes on. You know, I'm like, oh, I fucking love fucking Merck and Pfizer. No, but I'm fine taking their fucking vaccine after like other institutions that we do have a little more trust in. Maybe take a look at the vaccine and they're like, oh, this seems fine. We're fine with that stuff. Like, you have to have, like, we couldn't have made the vaccines as quickly as we did without fucking large pharmaceutical companies producing them. Like, there was just no other way. This is like, this isn't even trust but verify. This is like fucking put your head in the microwave shit.
Came to the conclusion that by defeating RFK Jr.'s nomination, and because he has become the poster person, poster child for all of that, would help to sow that distrust. It would, and putting Kennedy in there would help.
Oh, that's great. If we all these people been lying about all this shit for a while, and if we keep one of the people who's been lying about this shit from the levers of power, well, all the people that believe the lies that this person's been telling are just going to keep believing the lies that he's telling. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, people just swallow this? People are just like, oh, that seems normal. Okay. That's right. All right, well, that makes sense. Nothing to see here.
Calm things down. That was a big part of the Trump coalition, the sort of Maha movement, make America healthy again. And RFK.
But they want to make you healthy by feeding you raw, like unpasteurized milk and fucking ivermectin for like whatever ails you, even if it ain't fucking gonna help what ails you.
Yeah, I mean, there is a reason why RFK Jr. has so much support across the country. Now, did he have enough support to become president? No. But did he have those people who, because of COVID and other issues like our food quality and things like that, have a real mistrust of the vaccination system about what it causes or what it doesn't cause or what transparency that people believe that?
This is the news. Everybody, the news is like, well, I don't know. Fucking RFK Jr. And fucking people like Andrew Wakefield and Oprah and fucking Jenny McCarthy and fucking Del Bigtree and fucking this whole rogues gallery of fucking propagandists sowed all this distrust about fucking vaccines now to the point where people are like, I don't even want the fucking polio vaccine. So I don't know, maybe we should just fucking fuck it. What are we supposed to do? We're just the news. We're just supposed to be, I don't know. What are we supposed to do here? Fucking we're not, certainly shouldn't like try to tell people what's going on or what the truth is about this or anything like that. We're just fucking just kind of observing what's going on here. We're just kind of doing, this is vibes based. We're just going to do like a vibe check.
That the pharma industry is giving to Americans, yes, and so that's his base, and that's something that was also, kind of fighting against Bill Cassidy. But I think that what he described was a lot of promises, and it's unclear whether or not those promises will be kept, particularly on this issue of vaccine and autism. Even Trump posted this morning, basically saying that, I'll read it to you really quickly.
Okay, are you going to say that this is untrue? Are any of you going to say that this is not true, that the evidence does not bear this out, and the evidence is so strong in the other direction that this is fucking cuckoo birds? Are any of you going to say anything like that?
So the 20 years
we'll put it up
ago,
on the screen while you do it.
He goes, 20 years ago, autism in children was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 34. Wow, something's really wrong. We need Bobby. Thank you. Now, he's not exactly linking that to vaccines, but clearly this is the conversation that's happening right now in the zeitgeist. And so there are a lot of people, not just the Maha movement, not just moms who are concerned about red dye and different foods and things like this, but that have real concerns about vaccines. And so I think that that is what Bill Cassidy is acknowledging. I think the last thing I want to.
So you're not going to say anything about whether or not these concerns are valid, or that or maybe they've possibly been fucking manufactured by people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. To make money and to raise his profile. You're not going to say anything. Why would you tell people that? You're just the fucking news.
Say is that, so much of this confirmation fight that we're talking about right now stems from Matt Gaetz. People within the Republican community, MAGA Republicans, saw Matt Gaetz fall. They felt that it was unfair that he did not get his day in the confirmation hearings. And so they created this really robust outside network to push these senators. So yes, Bill Cassidy is saying that, he got enough consolidation from RFK. He feels like they can work together, but he's also facing a very tough primary. And that
all right, but that's his job. He's just a little boy. He might lose his job. Well, yeah. I thought your job as a fucking representative was to sometimes make the tough choice. Sometimes do the right thing, even if it might cost you your reelection bid. I thought that was your job.
People that were engaged after Matt Gaetz fell knew that and pressed on that point.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the sort of bigger picture, because I do want to talk about that. What we're going to see later today is a vote for Tulsi Gabbard. Susan Collins said yesterday afternoon that she's going to support Tulsi Gabbard to be the director of national intelligence.
That's fucking crazy. I can't. That's fucking crazy.
It looks like, unless we have a big surprise, she's also somebody who looks likely to get through. So Matt Gaetz aside, if you look at the big picture of
our country is being run by a podcast.
Cabinet, what Donald Trump wants, Donald Trump is getting from the Republicans in the United States Senate.
You don't
because they're Republicans.
Say no to Donald Trump is essentially the message that is resonating across the halls of Congress. There are other examples of this before these votes. There's the freeze on federal funding and the sort of tepid response to that, even though we know that Republicans were getting multiple calls from constituents about how this was playing out in their districts and the many questions they had, the firing of the watchdogs, the inspector generals, and again, senators who have defended that and are big on oversight, including there in that speech by Bill Cassidy when he talks about the oversight of Congress. Again, another move done with not much outrage from Republicans. This is another example of that. When you look at the 30,000-foot view here, it is increasingly difficult, if very difficult, to say no to the president and his agenda. The big question that I think Jeff was hitting at here, and what Bill Cassidy was almost hinging his vote on, was the participation if RFK is to get confirmed, that there is going to be discussions with Congress. He said, for example, that he would rebuff any attempt if he were to pull vaccines, and he would want to see, quote, ironclad scientific evidence. But that is on the basis that there's going to be that correspondence. And what we have seen over the course of only this week is that the executive has been making decision after decision, and Congress follows along.
It is a big, big leap of faith, particularly for an administration that has Elon Musk, who didn't get any votes.
It's a big leap. No, it's cowardice. This is all cowardice. These people are
nomination
terrified.
Is now very much doing
Neither that, or they just are pretending.
in the show.
Maybe this guy knew all along that he was going to vote for RFK Jr. and just wanted to pretend that he was like fucking not going to do it because he might like get some good press and maybe get some moderates or something to vote for him. I don't fucking know. Oh, here we go. This one's fun. This is from the Kash Patel nomination hearing. This is pretty interesting here. Previously fired, currently unfired because of the new year. Stu Peters had Kash Patel on his show a bunch of times, and somebody in Congress is going to ask him about that. And check this out.
Intelligence for this country is a racist in any way, and I detest any conjecture to the contrary.
Are you familiar with the Stu Peters? Does that name ring a bell?
I'm sorry. What?
Are you familiar with Mr.
He even knows the guy, and he's like I think that was a genuine moment of disbelief. He's like, I can't believe that this guy's fucking name.
Stu Peters?
Not off the top of my head.
He made 8 separate appearances on his podcast. He promoted outrageous conspiracy theories and worked with a prominent neo-Nazi. There are more. Ted Nugent. It goes on. List goes on. I'm just asking, when it comes to your association with individuals, why are so many of them in this category?
My association, as you loosely define it, is by appearing in media over 1,000 times to take on people who are putting on conspiratorial theories and to debar them of their false impressions and to talk to them about the truth. That is something that I will always continue to fight for.
That's right. He's going around fucking debunking fucking conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory on the fucking Stu Peters show. Oh man. Here is none other than fucking Stu Peters. Stu Peters is even gonna debunk this. Stu Peters is like, yeah, this guy knows me. All fucking people too. Fucking goddamn Stu Peters is going to oh, this is taking a while to for this video to go. What the fuck's going on here? Like, anybody ever doubted that this show's recorded live? If you're listening on the podcast, it's clearly recorded live. Anyway, we'll just do it this way. Here's Stu Peters. He's like, yeah, actually that guy does know me.
Clearly, Kash Patel is lying. Yeah, he absolutely does know who I am, and he's very familiar on a lot of different levels, and I'm not going to get into that right now because this guy is going through a Senate confirmation hearing. So I'm not going to get into too many personal specifics at this point, but that's flagrantly false. What?
Man, getting fucking fact checked by Stu Peters is like a new fucking low for somebody at one of these hearings. My fucking God. Things are just going to get weirder and weirder, everybody. Here is here's fucking Donald Trump. Canada and Mexico have been so unfair to us. So unfair.
Mexico and Canada have never been good to us on trade. They've treated us very unfairly on trade. And we will be able to make that up very quickly because we don't need the products that they have. We have all the oil you need. We have all the trees you need, meaning the lumber. We have more than almost anybody in those two categories. In oil, we have more than anybody, and we don't need anybody's trees. We have to free up some of the tree areas that we have. We have great lumber in this country. We have to free them up environmentally, which I can do very quickly. But we don't need what they have. And
now do Mexico.
To be subsidizing Canada to the tune of $175 billion a year and subsidizing Mexico to the tune of $250 billion, $300 billion a year. And Mexico is a method of China sending in its product. And with China, I'm also thinking about something because they're sending fentanyl into our...
Yo, we actually have a pretty sweet deal with our neighbors. It's one of those things that generally it's good for them and good for us. But he didn't really talk much about Mexico. And Mexico, a lot of your produce be coming from Mexico. Oh, fucking good. A lot of the good shit at the stores from Mexico. We grow a lot of it here in California too, but Trump's probably going to try to put tariffs on California. Here's a CNN hit from I guess the 3rd of February about Trump getting rolled by Canada and Mexico in these so-called negotiations.
According to the White House press secretary, quote, Canada is bending the knee just like Mexico. Is that what's happening here?
This is hilarious to me because Trump got rolled by both of these countries and no one, least of all Trump, seems to have realized it. Both the leaders of Mexico and Canada have agreed to do what they have already been doing. It's just that Trump didn't seem to know about it. Like, for example, the president of Mexico said that she would commit to having 10,000 troops at the U.S.-Mexico border. Guess what? There are already 15,000 people there, troops, military troops from Mexico there.
She's like, all right, I'll take 5,000 and move them away, whatever.
There for years. Trump didn't seem to notice this. Same deal with Canada. Prime Minister Trudeau said, aha, we're going to spend $1.3 billion on investing in border security. Guess what? They announced that $1.3 billion last year. Oh, but they're also going to have a fentanyl czar and they're going to have 24/7 eyes on the border. You know, this is about saving face, I guess. I don't know if nobody informed Trump that there are no actual concessions here, but that will, of course, not stop him from claiming victory.
We have certainly seen the claim of victory. Scott Jennings, I'm not going to act like Republicans are still a party of free trade that they had been in kind of iterations past. There's obviously been a transformation and a willingness to at least somewhat embrace what President Trump has made so clear as a focal point of his really entire agenda. But there are some Republicans that have raised some concerns about it, including this one. Take a listen.
What about tariffs against our allies?
It will drive the cost of everything up. In other words, it'll be paid for by
you're not going to do anything about it.
Consumers. I mean, why would you want to get in a fight with your allies over this?
You know that guy somewhat well, Scott, former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, your former boss as well. Is he wrong here?
Well, I think that question was posed on 60 Minutes last night. Let's fast forward to what's happening right now. There are no tariffs. There's a pause on this because, as has been reported by CNN and every other news outlet, both Mexico and Canada have reached agreements today with Donald Trump to do.
Right, but it's what already was happening. They were like, what are we currently doing? Like to one of their aides or whatever. Can you give me a list of the things we're currently doing? I'm going to fucking promise this idiot these things that we're already doing. And then they read off a list of the shit they were already doing, and Trump goes, oh, I'm glad we're good doing business with you.
Do what we want them to do, which is to put people and technology and resources at the border to stop the flow of people and drugs, illegal immigration, stem.
The lady's laughing at
the whole point.
I love to laugh at these people more.
Of this exercise. And that is apparently what is happening. And yes, there have been some troops there in Mexico. This is an agreement to do permanent deployment. And yes, some of this stuff in Canada was already announced, but now they were dragging their feet. Now their feet are held to the fire. They've got 30 days to really implement, and they can't pussyfoot around anymore. So the point of this exercise today, to me, had less to do with trade and more to do with saying to our neighbors, you need to be better neighbors. We are more important to your economy.
Nobody has better neighbors than Canada and Mexico. Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. There are no better neighbors in the world. The United States has fucking, anytime there's a fucking disaster in the United States, especially in the Southwest, Mexico is Johnny on the spot to fucking help us. No matter how fucking toxic and nasty the rhetoric about Mexico is coming from the White House, and even like under Trump, when there were natural disasters, Mexico just helped. That's just what they do. They just come help us.
Part of ours, so you need to help us with our serious problem, which is illegal immigration and people dying from fentanyl. And they both said yes today, and that is a win for Donald Trump.
You know, Ashley, to kind of Scott's point, in terms of claiming the victory, making clear publicly across every different platform White House officials have a voice in, and the president himself, it's what we're going to see. We've seen it before. It's a playbook, but it's a playbook that's been effective in terms of how the public receives it.
So this has been effective in how the public receives it. What he means to say is the dude just came out and lied to everyone, and it worked because we fucking helped him lie to everyone
in this moment.
Well, I mean, I think I would challenge your point about it being effective. I mean, what we're seeing right now is Donald Trump is actually using Americans' pocketbooks as a negotiating weapon in his trade wars, and it's wreaking havoc on the economy as we actually speak. I mean, the markets fell here and abroad globally. You've had a situation where investors are pulling their stocks from companies that they think are going to be hardest hit by tariffs. You've got U.S. industry base from home builders to manufacturing as well as retailers saying that, you know, the prices are going to spike and the American people are going to pay a price. So this isn't over, you know, and the reality is this is just a betrayal of what Donald Trump promised the American people. And
no, he promised fucking tariffs. This is wrong. You're wrong. Why do these people suck at this so bad?
That he was going to lower prices on day one. So Trump's trade wars are not over, and they're not, and the effect of them could be felt, and they're going to be felt by the American public in their pocketbooks.
Catherine, to Ashley's point, quantify what the actual impact is here for people saying, look, the market bounced back, no tariffs were put into place, Trump got what he wanted, all's well, we'll do this again in 30 days. Is that kind of
we'll do this again, and you breathlessly fucking report on it again in 30 days. Like some fucking crisis is happening that isn't just the doing of one fucking maniac that y'all have enabled to gain power.
I mean, I don't know what Trump wanted in this situation. Again, he didn't actually get anything. But if he were to put these tariffs in place, they would be very painful for American consumers. Okay, Scott. I mean, this is
a total lie.
This is public information.
He got what he wanted. He got an agreement from our neighbors to do more on the border. That's what he.
No. You absolute dumb fuck. He got an agreement. They told him that they were going to do more, but they just said, I'm serious. They probably just told like an aide or a staffer. They're like, get me a list of the things that we are doing that I can tell this guy that we're going to do that he's going to like. And then the staff got the list of those things, and they got on the phone. They're like, oh, Mr. Trump, thank you for calling. Here's what we plan to do. And they didn't even mention to him that they already fucking plan to do those things. Because he's a fucking idiot. And all you got to do is fucking give the guy a fucking, all you got to do is give the guy an emotional hand job or whatever when you talk to him. And he'll be like, oh, it was the best meeting I've ever had. It was a perfect meeting. Thank you.
Do exactly what they have already been doing.
I understand you're the minister of propaganda tonight, but you don't have to be. You could just say, hey, all's well that ends well here. Come on.
If you don't know that these countries are committing to do exactly what they have already been doing, either you haven't done your homework or you think the American people are idiots. Because again,
I like her.
Option three. Donald Trump is enforcing what needs to be done at the border, which is more help from our friends. They are our allies and they are important people, but they need to help us, and they've not been helping us, and now they're going to help us even more.
They have been.
But the point is that it's also
ask every family with a fentanyl death how much they've been helping.
Oh, I bet more fucking fent flows from the U.S. into Canada than the other way.
Scott, can I just ask you?
Well, they have done nothing more.
Scott, can I ask you though? Like, this playbook is like he's got one play on some level. At some point, the market's going to stop taking this serious, I presume. I think part of the freak out this morning was everybody didn't really take it totally seriously, given the scale of things. Is there ever going to come a point where he's going to actually do what he says on tariffs?
Maybe. I don't know. I think it's dependent upon them. I mean, look, the reality is.
Yeah. Can they trick him again? The answer is probably yes.
Important to them than they are to us. We are a bigger economy. We are just a bigger player, and we have lots of equities at stake here beyond the economy, beyond trade. We have people all over this country dying, including in my home state of Kentucky, from fentanyl overdoses. It is a scourge. It is a disaster, and it needs to be dealt with. The illegal immigration crisis is what propelled Trump back to the White House in the first place.
Still the funding. Whoa.
Just real quick, Catherine.
If you're suggesting this is about reducing fentanyl deaths, which I agree is 100% a very important, critical national issue, why did Trump kill the funding last year that would have put in place better technology at our border to detect fentanyl?
Donald Trump wasn't the president last year. He's the president now.
We got
a lot.
All of the Republicans to kill.
We got a lot.
This is fucking so stupid. Fucking CNN. Just you know what? Put me in charge of CNN. Fuck it. People would get hella mad. They'd be like, "Oh, some queer leftist is in charge." He used to stream to like 35 to 50 people on Twitch. Now he's in charge of CNN. Put me in charge though. I'd do a better job. We're gonna go on to Newsmax. This is not great. There's a Newsmax host. I don't know his name, but here he is eating tacos and talking shit on immigration. I bet his tacos are fucking shitty, like white people tacos too. Yeah, they're hard. Oh no, they're fucking. You got like Ortega shells and shit. Probably lettuce on your tacos.
What are you gonna do? Will you come take it out of my ham? I'm gonna eat half this plate during the break. Maybe I'll call.
No, those aren't bad. They're quesadilla.
Sure. All kidding aside, this is actually really good taco. These people broke the law. They broke the law to get here.
I had it wrong about his tacos. Tacos look pretty fucking good, but like it reminds me of a long time ago. There's an episode of this show, the Plex, and it's called Taco Carlson. We called him Taco Carlson because of Tucker Carlson, and he was like freaking out about how tacos are like an American food or whatever. Forget what the name. If you just search Taco Carlson on our website, you'll find that episode, and that sort of reminded me of that in a way. Except that guy is not. Listen, I don't like Tucker Carlson, but Tucker Carlson is a pretty good broadcaster. That guy's not a good broadcaster. Anyway, up next, we got, I guess, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is, she's talking about freezing funds for NGOs after she found out that they aren't just like all fucking Jesus NGOs. Imagine that they aren't. It's just they're not out there praising Jesus. I thought that was their job. Here, check this out. This is fucking mind numbing.
And well, I was one of those Americans that years ago, when somebody said NGO to me, I thought, oh, that's amazing. That's a nonprofit that's out there telling somebody about Jesus or spreading
why would that
faith.
why would you assume that these are all religious groups?
Salvation or doing good work and charitable work, helping people that are less fortunate. And then I realized over the years it's been perverted into this shadow government. An NGO is sometimes an operation that does things that the government cannot do, can't legally do. So they create an entity to use government dollars, taxpayer dollars, to do something that the federal government isn't allowed to do, to do a shadow government operation that really has been used recently to undermine our country's national security.
All right. Well, what a dumbass. I don't think anybody assumed that every NGO was like a religious NGO. I mean, I know that religion is probably overrepresented, at least from American NGOs, because this is America, and religion is pretty overrepresented in our society in like a lot of ways, particularly like evangelical Christianity, where there are more people who don't believe in any religion than there are evangelical Christians in this country, but you would never know it based on who has influence and power. Now we're going to find out how much damage woke has done to the FAA. I know this is going to be a little bit difficult. We just don't know. How much damage has woke done to the FAA?
Sir, thank you. Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA administrator, in this case, acting FAA administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything.
This is, I mean, we talk about this all the time. This is, they think that basically if you got hired at the FAA or whatever and you're not white, that you got hired because you're not white, not because you knew how to do your fucking job. But everybody, I don't know if you knew this, changing names, changing from cockpit to flight deck is actually the real problem here. This is stepping on everybody's cock, so to speak, I suppose.
So, Shannon, the mission of DOT and FAA is safety. That has been the historic mission of this agency. And over the last 4 years, when they're having a conversation in the last administration about changing names from cockpit to flight deck or notice to airmen to notice to air mission, because
that these things are fine. Like, the people doing the mission don't give a fuck. They know what you're talking about. If they wouldn't even notice, right? If it's like a message to our airmen or a message to the air mission, they wouldn't even know the fucking difference. They're like, oh, it's a message. They'll probably fucking ignore it, depending on how important it is. Like, what are you talking about?
It's too gender specific. They're focused on social justice and in the environment.
Like, how long does he think that it takes to do these things?
Roads and EVs, they've lost sight of the mission of this department. And so we have no place for anything other than the best and the brightest. And so when you look at what went wrong, you got to look at the people that you have in place at the DOT and the FAA and the leadership and the direction that leadership gives them. And it's been misplaced over the last 4 years. We're back on mission. We're focused on safety and having the best people delivering that safety. And I don't care your race, your religion, your sex, your sexual preference. That doesn't matter. Just the best and the brightest.
Yo, you know, I don't like Pete Buttigieg, and I think he did a fucking bang up job over there at the Department of Transportation. I think he did a great job, and that's like all indications, all like. Now, mind you, I'm not an expert on the fucking Department of Transportation, but I think Pete Buttigieg, who I didn't like. I didn't think he was necessarily going to be qualified for that job. He did a fucking fantastic job. What are they talking about? What are they fucking talking about? Here, this one's going to be fun. You can imagine JD Vance is going to get rolled here by fucking Maria Bartiromo. I don't think she even did it on purpose. I think she thought she was asking him like softball questions and shit, but she like asked a fucking pretty specific question, and dude doesn't know how to answer it.
Do you have any evidence that any of those hires that were there at the control Wednesday night were DEI hires?
So the president's been very clear about this. This is not saying that the person who was at the controls is a DEI hire, but let's just say, first of all, we should investigate everything. But let's just say the person at the controls didn't have enough staffing around him or her because we were turning people away because of DEI reasons.
What? So, good government jobs, because of what people used to believe had, you'd take a little less pay, but you had job security and a pretty proper pension. There's no lack of applicants for those jobs, no lack of qualified applicants for those jobs. Any understaffing is probably lack of funding, not lack of applicants for the jobs.
There's a very direct connection between the policies of the last administration and short-staffed air traffic controllers. That has to stop. And by the way, it's so funny.
I'm sorry. This doesn't make sense. I'm telling, air traffic controller is a hard job, but again, you get a pension. It's a stressful job, but every time there are applicants for those jobs. Every time those jobs go up, there are a lot of applicants for those kinds of jobs.
To me, the media has picked up on this, not you, of course, Maria, but others have picked up on this. The president made very clear that he wasn't blaming anybody, but he was being very explicit about the fact that DEI policies have led our air traffic controllers to be short-staffed. That is a scandal.
Wait, no.
It's a scandal that the president has stopped.
So you have to believe this. You have to believe that, that there wasn't, that they were like, oh, we need somebody, I don't know, just, a role 7B here at the air traffic controller's office or whatever. I don't know anything about the structure of it. What we need to find for this, because of our DEI requirements, is we need to find an indigenous lesbian person with a disability who is also gender questioning, or we can't hire anybody. And that's absurd. You have to believe some version of that to believe that that's why these are, that the staffing wasn't where it was supposed to be or whatever. Staffing isn't where it's supposed to be because they're always underfunded. Always underfunded. And that's why they're probably, and we don't even know if fucking these recent airplane crashes are a result of understaffing at the fucking air traffic control tower or whatever. We don't know. It was a result of understaffing somewhere else. Maybe everything was perfectly staffed, but fucking people fucked up. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But it's also really interesting him talking about this while like all the new hiring is being frozen, like just completely. You can't hire anybody for anything. People are actually getting fired from their jobs in the fucking Federal Aviation Administration for no real reason other than that we can't determine how loyal you are to the fucking president. But no, it's the last administration's wanting to like hire some black folk. This seems pretty dumb. I don't even think he believes that shit. I don't think he's that dumb. I just think he knew what he has to go out there and say. At some point, right? At some point, this isn't going to work anymore. This dog is going to stop hunting for them. Just blaming everything that happened on the fact that the previous administration thought it might be a nice idea to have a diverse workforce within the federal government. At some point, like people are going to stop buying this. It might be a while, and it's not everybody's going to stop buying this, but I think a lot of people are going to stop buying this. Up next, here's Jasmine Crockett, a fucking national treasure.
I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent,
You are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel away and why you can't make me doubt who I am is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder. This is why they don't want us to have education. This is why they are trying to literally say we won't fund the HBCUs, because they know that if they've already gone after affirmative action and they're saying, you know what, don't allow them to come into, say, these PWIs, as we call them, don't allow them to come into these institutions. We know why they created the HBCUs in the first place. It was because they wouldn't allow us into the white institutions. And so now they're not allowing us in. And now they're saying, you know what, we're also going to defund the HBCUs. You know why? Because they don't want any more Kamala Harrises. They don't want any more Jasmine Crockett's. But I got news for them. I don't care what they do. We will fight to the end to make sure that we get our due. Because again, if you want to talk about the people that shouldn't be in this country, you probably need to look in the mirror, because the last time I checked, the Native Americans who Summer ICE have been rounding up, or the Puerto Ricans who are absolutely Americans. Listen, the only people that came and colonized this place are your ancestors, Trump.
Yo, might be risky, but I don't know. Homegirl, run in 2028. Run. You will run. You might not win, but fucking run. My God. So everybody, the Onion. Onion is so back. The Onion is a fucking so back. Check this out.
Last week, Lucas Armitage bravely defended his family and his home when he stopped an intruder all by himself just by using his daddy's gun.
That's right, and Lucas and his dad Jack are with us in the studio this morning. Good morning to both of you.
Hi, guys.
Good morning, Tracy. Now, Lucas, can you tell us what happened?
I heard the noise, and I got up from bed and went into the kitchen to where Dad keeps the gun.
So you found it all by yourself, right?
I take it out a lot. Sometimes I just look at it.
Right, now, it was a burglar, wasn't it, Lucas? He was trying to steal things.
He looked hungry. When he saw I had the gun, he put his hands up and said, "Please don't shoot."
But you didn't listen to him, did you?
I knew it would be easy to shoot him. Just aim and pull the trigger.
That's right.
Well, and that's exactly what you did,
You
right?
shot him in the leg, didn't you? You put one right through the kneecap, right?
Yeah, it was like bang really loud, and he fell down screaming, and there was lots of blood coming out.
Lucas, you really are a hero.
He started crawling away and crying, so I shot him in the back.
Yeah, you must be so proud of your son, Jack.
And then I stood over him and shot him like bang, bang, bang.
Well, that's one crook that's not going to be breaking into anybody else's home, is he?
Yeah, he wouldn't stop talking, so then I shot his jaw off.
Well, how'd you manage to do that, Lucas?
Either you shoot at the temples and pull down, or you shoot at the side of the skull wall.
It's the weakest part of the skull. He's right. That's very
And then I
sophisticated
started-
knowledge there.
Yeah, but then he started screaming, "Arr!"
Yeah, right.
And then I shot off each one of his fingers, and then he stopped screaming.
Last week, Lucas Armitage.
Fucking Onion is so fucking back. Oh my God. That's fucking crazy. Fucking, oh man. Shout out to fucking Ben Collins and his whatever rich people helped him buy the Onion. Usually I don't like rich people buying fucking shit, but the Onion was about to, like, there were some fucking less than savory folks trying to buy the Onion in addition to Ben Collins and his people, and I'm glad that they got it, because it hasn't changed that much, honestly, right? Like, that's exactly what you expect from the Onion. It's just the Onion hadn't been doing that as much. I think they didn't have the money. I think they didn't have the money to keep doing it, and they got an injection of money, and they're out there fucking taking names and shit. That was fucking horrible, but it's absolutely fantastic. Up next. So I generally don't put this stuff on here, but this the lady, the middle-aged lady at the beginning with the coffee yelling at these people is everything. I think she's probably a lesbian, but that's just my guess based on my own biases and like cues that I get from her. But check this out. This is 400 plus federal agents conduct raids targeting TDA, whatever the fuck that is.
Second Trend Day at Rockwood Link Complex, ICE was met by activists who taunted them.
That's not an activist. She's just in the parking lot.
And others who...
Yeah, that's not an activist. She's just walking to her car.
Megaphones to coach those living inside. DEA agents used flashbangs inside while serving a warrant. That led to a handful of arrests, but no TDA gang members. A stop at another apartment complex netted no arrests.
That first woman in the parking lot holding her coffee cup and cussing them out, they described her as an activist. I don't know.
Wait a minute. What the fucking... I have the same take as Rachel Maddow?
She is.
I didn't know Rachel Maddow was in this clip.
Like a super annoyed neighbor who was angry to see a bunch of ICE agents dressed up like the 82nd Airborne in her apartment building's parking lot.
I have the same take as Rachel Maddow. Well, it wasn't about Russia, so I suppose maybe we would generally have the same take. I went farther than Rachel, though. I think that lady was probably a lesbian. That lady just had big Kara Swisher energy, that lady with the coffee. Okay, so this is a little bit longer, but it's actually really important. Unfortunately, I think it's fucking Jake Tapper again. But this is about whether or not Paramount is going to settle a lawsuit with Donald Trump about an interview that CBS News conducted. This is like really important because they clearly should not settle this kind of lawsuit. The president should not be suing the media. The courts should throw these things out immediately.
In our politics lead, there's a story playing out between Paramount and CBS News, President Trump, and the Federal Communications Commission that any American who values a free and independent press should care about, including Trump supporters who should not like the precedent that is being set. The story started last fall when 60 Minutes interviewed then Vice President Kamala Harris. Then candidate Trump did not agree to sit down with the news magazine, but nonetheless, he protested how 60 Minutes edited the Harris interview, specifically the answer she gave after correspondent Bill Whitaker asked the vice president why Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was not listening to the Biden administration. Now, in a preview clip that ran on CBS's Face the Nation Sunday.
So now, like, bad editing is a fucking cause for, like, the president to come after you and, like, what the shit? I'm sure the interview was bad, and I'm sure that it was edited poorly, and I'm sure that everything, we wouldn't have liked the interview in its entirety or in its edited form. We'd have been like, well, this is bullshit. But I'm not really sure that's fucking cause for legal action.
Morning, Harris was shown answering like this.
The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But during 60 Minutes airing, Harris gave this answer to the same question.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Now, CBS News explained the discrepancy by saying they had merely run two different parts from the same longer answer. And that is indeed what the transcript revealed. Now, CBS News did not post the transcript at the time, but they did turn it over to the FCC this week. And the FCC released the transcript to the public.
Oh, CBS, just drop the unedited interview. Like, fucking, just drop like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Just drop the entire unedited interview. Even if there's parts of it that are fucking weird and got cut out because of technical glitches or anything like that, post the whole fucking interview.
Yesterday. But that is far from what Donald Trump alleged happened.
They took the answer out in its entirety, threw it away, and they put another answer in.
That's not you don't have. Where's your standing? The only person who might have standing there if they were going to sue might be Kamala Harris, right? But even then, I don't think she has standing, right? Because she probably signed like a fucking, like some kind of standard waiver or whatever that everybody signs when they go get interviewed on fucking CBS.
Now, that is, as we saw from the transcript, obviously not what happened at all. But still, Donald Trump called this incident, quote, the greatest fraud in broadcast history, unquote. Mr. Trump said, quote, CBS should lose its license, unquote. And then Trump sued under news distortion rules for $10 billion. Now, the suit is widely regarded by legal and First Amendment experts as, well, as one put it, quote, a frivolous and dangerous attempt by a politician to control the news media. Broadcasters have a right to edit interviews. It's editorial judgment. For example, Fox in June 2024 aired this.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
But that wasn't Trump's actual whole answer. It was a taped interview. And as Semaphore noted at the time, Mr. Trump, in the full, unedited version, sounded a lot less definitive about releasing the Epstein files. Here's the whole answer.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least...
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation. And
I think he ended his own life. I think it was a man who never had anybody ever tell him fucking no in his entire life. And the first time he went to fucking trial, he got a big old slap on the wrist. And this time he knew he wasn't going to get no slap on the wrist. And so he took his own life. This is not hard to understand.
The cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one.
Quite different, right? Now look, Fox had every right to make that edit. Now, did that edit make Trump look more decisive, less equivocating? Did it make Trump, therefore, look better? Yep. Was that why Fox did it? I have no idea. Maybe they just had some timing issues. Either way, it's Fox's right to do it. Just as it was Fox's right to do it when they had Trump's surprise visit to a Bronx barber shop on air, which they also cut down significantly and, coincidentally or not, flatteringly, Fox had the right to do it. And not just because cable and broadcast networks have different rules. Now, the 60 Minutes editing case would almost certainly fail spectacularly in court, according to legal experts. But Paramount Global, which owns CBS News, is currently trying to merge with Skydance Media. And in order to do that, Paramount will need the approval of the Trump administration, specifically the FCC.
Okay, so this is pretty good reporting here.
Which, under
shout out to his staff,
Brendan Carr, has suggested that Trump's news distortion complaint will be considered by the FCC before any merger can be approved. Enter Sherry Redstone, the owner of Paramount, who stands to make about $8 billion if this deal goes through.
And if this deal doesn't go through, she'll be all alms for the poor, alms for the poor.
One CBS News employee to me about this, quote, everyone expects Sherry settles with Donald Trump. She is not concerned about her legacy, democracy, or the work we do. It's only about the deal, her pocketbook. The only way she wouldn't settle is if Skydance sent her a smoke signal to hold off. Surely they realize a settlement diminishes the brand and value of 60 Minutes, which they claim to admire and want to own, unquote. For Paramount to settle this suit would be hoisting a white flag of surrender. It would be the network of Edward R. Murrow, at the behest of its owners, saying, we will not speak truth to power, we will acquiesce to power at the expense of truth. President Trump has sued any number of individuals in the news media over the years and the regular media. Bill Maher, journalist Tim O'Brien, CNN, and he has almost always lost because it doesn't seem like the point is actually to win. It seems like the point is to make people think twice before they will say anything critical about him. But his latest lawsuits represent a dangerous escalation. Mr. Trump is also going after the Des Moines Register and its former pollster, Ann Selzer, for, quote, brazen election interference, unquote. Why? Well, because of a faulty poll that wrongly suggested before the election that Trump would lose Iowa. The Des Moines Register is fighting that lawsuit, though, while it looks like Paramount will settle. The CBS News employee expressed their opinion about all of this to me, saying, quote, let's call it what it is. It's a bribe.
Yeah.
Now, we should note representatives for Paramount and Sherry Redstone and Skydance continue to decline to comment on any of this.
Well, their lawyer's probably telling them not to.
You know, you live long enough and you see how eroded standards that politicians think work for their side always end up being wielded against them. And at that point, it doesn't even matter who started it. It just matters that corporations are leaning on news divisions to supplicate themselves to whomever's in power because of their bottom line and the implied threat from the government. As a great CBS newsman once warned about television, this instrument can teach, it can illuminate, yes, and even it can inspire, but it can do so only to the extent that humans are determined to use it to those ends. Otherwise, it's nothing but wires and lights in a box.
It's like the internet, it's a series of tubes.
Sherry Redstone seems to have taken the wrong lessons from that speech. If Sherry Redstone settles, she may as well take the wires and lights and the box and sell them for parts.
That didn't end very strong. But yeah, this is horrible. Like that, if they're going to settle, it is a bribe. I mean, that's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they have a merger coming up and they know if they just hand Trump a pile of cash in a lawsuit, that he's much more likely to fucking allow them to merge with another company, that's a fucking bribe. But like, what is American politics if not a fucking elaborate system of legalized bribery anyway? So I don't know if they're doing anything different than they're supposed to. So here is Shane Vaughn. We haven't covered him so much lately, but he is going to, he's celebrating the firing of DOJ officials who prosecuted the emperor.
We're having conniption fits at the Department of Justice today. Why? Chickens have come home to roost. And today, the acting Attorney General, James McHenry, fired the employment of every DOJ official who prosecuted the emperor, the king,
all right,
president. Gone. They're all hasta la vista, baby.
Isn't that some shit that like fucking Americans always, like Americans, even like especially patriotic Americans, because Shane Vaughn's clearly a patriotic American. Isn't that the shit that patriotic Americans always would say that like fucking tin pot fucking dictatorships did and shit? But now I guess it's totally okay. And calling him the emperor and the king, even if kind of in jest, is sort of what he believes, I think, about this guy, that he is the emperor, that he is the king. What a fucking mess. Here's a clip from Waters, because can't have a fucking Sunday show, I suppose, without a clip from Waters. On Waters' show, it was Charlie Kirk, and they're going to talk about just getting rid of the IRS and somehow just taxing other countries to get revenue, I think. Something like that.
And I think the president using tariffs in the way he has to encourage manufacturing to come back to this country has been long overdue. We used to fund the entire federal government with tariffs. We used to fund all of our goods and services that we had through tariffs. In fact, I love the president's idea of the external revenue service. Get rid of the internal revenue service. Let's start actually taxing the rest of the world. And we're able to do this as the world superpower, as the incumbent economic power, because everyone wants to do business here. It's one thing if you're Portugal. It's one thing if you're Spain. It's another thing we're the United States of America, because people want to come here. This will result in trillions of dollars of more investment and capital coming into our country.
So Charlie wants to get rid of the income tax, so they just pay the federal budget down with tariffs. I know why. It's because Charlie's making so much money. And you know what? I agree. Let's do it. Let's scrap it. See you, Charlie.
No, I mean, they have to know that all this does is raises prices on the goods from these countries, because the country doesn't pay the tariff. You do. This is like the dumb. I mean, who think? Oh, China's just going to be like, oh, we'll just cover the tariff. No, fucking thing's going to cost more when it comes here because of the tariff. Then you're going to pay for it. In fact, because the tariff's already there, it's going to some fucking retailers and shit are going to be like, oh, jack it up another 10%. Fuck it. Right? Like once this starts going, it just, everything's going to, you put 20% tariff on something and all of a sudden, I don't know why, but at the store now it's twice as much. It's fucking price gouging and opportunistic fucking corporations and shit. And as a person who, because of what I do here, I have to buy a lot of shit from China. Like, it's not my choice. Like, I try to buy, I think my microphone, sure, microphones are still, some of it is manufactured in the United States, but where the fuck am I going to get a computer display that ain't manufactured in China? Where the fuck am I going to get a camera that wasn't fucking manufactured in China? So all this shit for me is just going to end up costing hell more. Finally, everybody, here's the next ghoul we need to be afraid of, is the fucking CEO of Palantir. Check this guy out. This guy's pretty much flown under the radar. His name is Alex Karp, and I think you might see him soon on the intellectual dollar tree. He is fucking terrifying.
Alex, as always, we have a lot of individual investors on the line. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end the call?
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am.
I'm sorry, is this guy the CEO of a major corporation, or is he trying to sell me fucking supplements?
Let's not talk to analysts about the burden of being right, our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of actually looking at the math, the burden of reading what the Rule of 40 is, the burden of being honest about what an enterprise software company is, or the burden of explaining to your friends that you're really happy. Maybe we should just stop talking about it. I'm very happy to have you along for the journey, and you are partners for us. Every Palantirian, we are crushing it. Everyone else who's listening, we are dedicating our company. We have dedicated our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. And we love our success in the U.S. and globally. Also, we are doing in the United Kingdom and many other places. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare our enemies and on occasion kill them. And we hope you're in favor of that. We hope you're enjoying being a partner, and we're really.
What? All right. I knew that you were just fucking murder for hire out of fucking Silicon Valley with like a fucking ping pong table in your lobby, but you're not supposed to just say it.
Really happy and very, very focused on what we're doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That concludes Q&A for today's call.
All right. Well, that's your next overlord, folks. Fucking Palantir. Keep an eye on Palantir. It's going to be fucked up. They might start just murdering people in the U.S. Who's going to stop them? Might fucking come kill me. I don't know. Not great. Not fucking great. Well, sometimes when you take a week off your podcast, that part of your show ends up being 2 hours. I was a little tired at the start of the show, but I feel pretty good now. So everybody, we're going to go into red light in a minute here. If you're listening on the podcast, I have to bid you farewell. If you'd like red light, if you'd like that part of the show, you can go to eplex.store or patreon.com/echoplex. Sign up at the $5 level or higher, and show gets in its entirety gets emailed to you the next day, audio and video. And as I always say, I'm not legitimately paywalling it. If you want to check it out, You're like, I'm not sure if I should subscribe. I don't know what's going on in red light. Just fucking email me. I'm not legitimately paywalling an MP4 over $5. As always, if you're watching, listening live on whatever platform, stay put. I just need a break. I've been sitting here for 2 hours. I'm going to change the color of the lights in here, change the contents of my beverage, and we're going to go into red light. I have some weird chemtrail shit and some other stuff. This is, as always, Boomers by Periscope. Shout out to Matt from Periscope. He's going to be moving back to Oakland pretty soon, so hopefully I can get him to move to my neighborhood, and maybe he'll even be my neighbor. I'll see everybody in a minute, or 4 minutes.
Should you pay